A lot of people would be like, man, you were feared. You're the most feared guy in the league, all these different things. Nah, man, I was respected because they actually had to circle me. Monday morning, they went into their meetings. And on Wednesday, when they had the game plan and they were giving it to everybody, they said, we got to circle this dude and make sure we take care of him. Because if we don't, he's going to wreck the game. That is ultimate respect. I'm Ndamukong Suh, and welcome to No Free Lunch, where we have real conversations with athletes, business leaders, and experts about what it actually takes to succeed at the highest level. Let's talk about something that gets misunderstood all the time in sports. People love using the word fear. They say if people fear you, that means you're respected. But after spending more than a decade in the NFL, I've learned something important. Fear and respect are absolutely not the same thing. Fear can make someone react in the moment. Respect changes how people prepare for you. Let me say that again. Respect changes how people prepare for you. I've seen players command real respect the moment they walk onto the field. And I've also watched leaders try to build authority through fear and quickly lose the entire locker room. The difference between those two approaches is bigger than most people realize. So today, I want to break down something that applies to sports, leadership, and even parenting. The difference between being feared and being respected. Let's get into it right here on No Free Lunch. Danny, big man, we back at it.
Back at it again, man. I like this topic a lot. I'm not going to lie to you, okay?
I love it. It's absolutely one of my favorites. I'm excited to talk about this.
I can feel it. So fear, I think, we see you, NFL player, defensive lineman, whether it be, that kind of prospect. You have a fighter. You have all these kind of guys that instill fear under people. But you specifically, going back to your playing days, when you step on the field, could you notice when a guy was a little timid? He was a little scared. Like, oh, Ndamukong Suh's in town. I got to get my stuff together.
I'm going to give you a story real quick. Okay. And the story goes like this. I remember vividly, and I think it was the ultimate piece of respect. Mm-hmm. But it goes into the fact of fear. And why I love this story is because I never really understood it until this offensive lineman this offensive line coach broke it down to me. He said there was an offensive lineman that he coached for years, and we were in the same division and played against each other twice a year. And this dude would, before the game, would throw up all these different particular pieces. And I thought that was cool. Like I really had this dude like quivering in his cleats, like he wasn't ready to play against me, or he had ultimate fear. But a lot of people would have been like, man, that was cool. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I really wanted to understand from this offensive line. And I caught him at the airport because he mentioned it to me, and we actually got to sit down, leaving Hawaii, and have a conversation before our planes took off, getting back to the mainland in the States. And he broke it down to me like this. This player, yes, he had the ultimate respect for you, but how I really respected you as a player was as simply as this. We had to account for you as a defensive lineman each and every single time that we played against you. And I felt like that was a true respect that I wanted to garner from my position and potentially changing the game, and with my play changing the game. And he was like, this offensive lineman totally respected you for whatever reason. He got the jitters, so he threw up before the game. But what I ultimately took from that conversation was they had to account for me with three different players: an offensive lineman, a fullback, and at times a tight end, in passing schemes. Right. Like that to me, like he said, no matter what, we had 4 hands on you, if not potentially 6 hands on you, because you were that dominant and you put that much fear in our offensive coordinator's mind of saying if we didn't stop him, we were going to be in for a world of hurt throughout that game. And so for me, a lot of people would be like, man, you were feared. You're the most feared guy in the league, all these different things. Nah, man, I was respected because they actually had to circle me Monday morning, they went into their meetings, and on Wednesday, when they had the game plan and they were giving it to everybody, they said, we got to circle this dude and make sure we take care of him, because if we don't, he's going to wreck the game. That is ultimate respect.
That is, I think, as a player, the biggest compliment is when you have a friend on a different team, and it's like, yeah, we had you on the scouting report, dog. You know, I know you was 6'2", whatever. You know, that is huge. How much of your reputation do you think was like intentional? And I mean that by like in boxing, right? The fight comes up, guys are talking trash to each other. You know, they're bolstering up. How did you consider that when you were playing, of whether it be giving bulletin board material or talking about a guy? I mean,
I definitely was not a bulletin board material type of guy. But what I was is, when we got on that football field, I wanted to impose my will. And my way of imposing my will was, and this was something that we worked on as a defensive line in general, but also as individual pass rush tactics. So from a defensive line collectively, there would be times where we would have, like, especially when I played in Detroit, we would just say, all we're going to do is just bull rush, all four of us. Passing down, we know we're going to get there, but we're going to bull rush. And yes, everybody wants to win, but no, we want this quarterback to feel that pocket collapse, and that if he don't get out of that pocket and run for his life, he's going to have every last offensive lineman on his lap. So we would have certain calls for those different things. I would translate it into my own game of, like, I want a long arm, I want a bull rush, I want to get my guy. If I got a one-on-one, or even if I had 2 versus 1, I'm putting that both of those guys, or that single guy, if I got one-on-one, on top of the quarterback early on in that game. So I'm getting the quarterback off his spot. Then I'm setting them up for my finesse moves as I move further into the game. So ultimately, like, it's a chess match, it's a chess game, and you're just setting them up throughout the whole time of the game. So when you feel that moment, or you see that opportunity, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5+, I'm going to take my shot and I'm going to beat them up, because they're thinking I'm coming straight power down the pipe and going right at them. But nah, I switch it up, I flip my hips, and I get to the quarterback and make a big play. So those are the ways of instilling fear in the way that you play, and being very aggressive, and it happening from an individual perspective, but also from a collective perspective of D-line working together.
I love the mental part of that. What you just spoke about, like setups. Like, I think as a fan, you're just watching the game, you're seeing guys just a cloud of dust. You know, you sitting next to somebody, they're like, why are they running, in front of all the guys where all the guys are? Why don't they go out to the outside? As, what people would say if they're just watching, a fan of the sport, not a fan of the sport, I should say. But yeah, how much of that in the moment are you going in preparing? Like, I can tell this guy has short arms, so I'm a smack the arms, or I'm a bull rush him. Like, is that going into the preparation too, so that in the moment, all right, 3rd and 7, I know this is going to work because I've seen it all week in film.
Yeah, man, it is all about studying film, understanding who your opponent is, and then also being able to see how those guys were beat previously in games before, in years before, all those different particular pieces. So it's very important, that preparation, that understanding, which allows you to find ways to be successful and win matches and beat teams. And like you said, man, like, you set up certain things. Like, we may run a blitz, and like, I know I'm on the backside of that blitz, but I'm going to destroy this dude, because they may give the same look. They may call the same look for a similar type blitz, but I've got a whole different role, and now I can win off of that blitz. So it's a huge mental game where a lot of people say, oh, it's just brute strength. Nah, man, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. I like the thought of like a D lineman having a bag. Like in basketball, it's, Kyrie has a crazy bag. He can do all this kind of stuff. But I think people don't talk about defensive linemen having that bag and the push and pull, or the bull rush, and all that kind of stuff that you can get into your pocket and play with.
But when it comes to, a lot of people that have that capability. That's why when the big boys, you do find them. That's why they get them big bags of money. $30, $40 million a year.
Yeah, speaking of bags, no, for sure. So I know, like, when we did, you were guessing, like, Busting with the Boys and the other guys that players that have played against you, they talk about just how much of a presence you were on the field, and then maybe guys would like talk trash to you, and you would just kind of like, all right, we'll see about that. How much of that part of the game were you mentally cognizant of? Like, I know that I'm one of the baddest MFers on the field, and I'm gonna lean into that persona and maybe say a thing or not say a thing or look a guy into his eyes. Like, how much of that were you cognizant of in the moment?
Yeah, man, it's funny because there's definitely mental games of knowing like you're going against a rookie. I'm in probably my 7th, 8th year or whatever it is. Or you talking about guys like Taylor Lewan. And like Taylor Lewan is one of those guys who's on obviously one of the co-hosts of Bussin' with the Boys. Like, man, he's talking noise to anybody and everybody. But you got his offensive guards that I'm going against on a consistent basis telling them, hey, man, shut up. Like, don't get him started because we already got our hands full and you ain't got to deal with him every day. So seeing that and playing around, but then also like, I think Taylor Lewan said this on the pod when we were on, when I was on it the other day, like how he knew, like, bro, I'm not messing with him. And if I did mess with him, he's got his young bulls that are going to come get me. He's not even going to deal with me. He's going to get one of his young guys to go. And like, that's when you got like a true tight-knit defensive line group of like, you guys are collectively feared and respected by your opponents because you are a pack of like wolves ready to go. Like if you mess with one of us, you're going to have to deal with all of us at the end of the day. So keep it clean. Let's have some fun. Let's be competitive, but don't get it twisted. We will turn this joint upside and down. Y'all get out of line.
That is so funny. Being around football my whole life, I do feel like the D-line are the guys that's like, all right, the D-line's here. We got to act like these guys are savages. like,
hey,
like
man,
any
whether
good
it's
team.
on the football field or it's off the football field, you don't mess with the D-linemen. Because you mess with one of them, they all going to pull up on you. And that's why the DBs be hanging out with us.
Right, yeah.
Because they be talking noise and they be like, hey, man, you talk that noise, I'm going to go get one of my D linemen or I'm going to get the whole D line group and they're going to come get up on you.
One thing I want to talk about is fear versus respect. And what's the difference? Because I think maybe externally they can look slightly the same, right? You're deferential to someone when you fear them or respect them. But in your eyes, what's the difference between the two?
I think the best example that I can give you is simply put like this. I've had multiple head coaches in the NFL, and I've had some really good head coaches and ones that I really admire that had the ultimate respect. And I will say Jim Caldwell was one of those guys that had the ultimate respect from his players. And I've also had some of the most terrible head coaches in this league. And I'll leave the name out of that, but we'll just say I happen to be between the years of 2015 and 2017 when I was playing for a certain team. And ultimately, Jim Caldwell commanded respect. He had simple rules. I'm going to treat you like an adult until you give me a reason why I have to treat you like one of my children. And I'm going to empower you. I'm going to give you guys all the opportunity to control this team the way you want to control it. We're going to have a unity council. We're going to have all these different particular pieces of where at the end of the day, I'm going to be transparent with you. If I want to be, because I'm the head coach, I'm going to make the ultimate decision at the end of the day, but I have no reason to have that, use that power if you guys do everything that you're supposed to be doing, do everything that I'm asking you for. And also one of the great things that I loved about him, he would simply say this: we can have fun and wins, losses, all in between, as long as we put in the work and meet my expectations. And these are my expectations. He laid it out simple and straightforward. There was no hidden games. There were nothing that you didn't understand. Everybody knew where they stood with him and what their roles and responsibilities were. And he didn't cuss. He didn't have to yell at people. He didn't have to raise his voice. Like none of these different particular pieces where you see a lot of coaches, man, I run this. This is how I do things. If you don't get with the program, you're going to get shipped out of here. We're all grown men. Either you act like a grown man or you don't act like a grown man. Let's just have the conversation. So I will say ultimately Jim Caldwell was one of the best examples of saying he was by no means ever feared, but he was well respected and everybody respected him. You may not have liked him, but you respected him. But guess what? With that respect, usually came with a great endearment and excitement and a liking of this human being because of the way he treated you. Because whether you were the punter on the team, the star quarterback, star receiver, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, whatever it is, everybody was treated the same. Versus this other situation, this other head coach, like, if you don't do what I say, you're out of here. If you act a fool or do something or make a mistake, I'm finding you conduct detrimental, which was in the league. If you get conduct detrimental, that's 4 game checks. Like you just that's not how you win respect. And people don't want to play for people like that, nor do they look at you as a figure that they actually respect or have a want to be around from that perspective. And you see other coaches and other people around you like, man, hey, that's the head coach. I ain't got nothing to do with that, but I'm going to run my room like this and we can go from there. But we got to somewhat understand what he's talking about and going from that standpoint. So I say all that to say, I'd much rather be respected than feared because it comes with so much more than you be feeling like you're in charge and you're actually running the show, where you're not really running the show. You're just sitting there imposing your power, which really gets you nowhere and usually has no ability to actually get you something to what you want, which is wins.
I love that you said that because even like in my experience, I feel like coaches that run off of fear, like the coach is inapproachable and he's this tough, hard-nosed guy. I think the runway for those coaches are also way shorter, right? So I think like to operate off of fear is such a, you're scared, you even like as a parent, right? You tell your kids no, or else want to take the game away. And then it's like immediately they might stop, right? Because they want the game immediately. But that respect of like, no, because of, why, we need to eat first before we play the game, or we need to, run sprints before we leave practice. Like having that respect I think it gives more longevity.
Man, and let's take it into fatherhood. And I'm a new father of only 4 going on 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at my kids, I don't want them to ever fear me. I want them to respect me. And when I mean by respect, I want them to look at to me as not their peer, but somebody that they can entrust their life with and their trials and tribulations, good times, bad times, everything in between. Because and we just had a conversation with one of my kids about something and it's saying, tell me the truth so I can help you through these times. And it's not that I need you to be somebody that you're going to hide something from me because you think you did wrong or you think that I'm not going to be happy. I want you to tell me so we can work through it together. And like, I want my house when my kids are older to be the place where, hey, y'all do whatever y'all going to do in this house and we'll figure it out from that standpoint. Because God forbid it, but something's going to happen at some point in time in life and we're going to have to deal with a situation. But I want you to be able to come and tell me that versus hiding it from me and I got to find out from somebody else. Because then I'm going to be mad. And that's when you really going to fear me.
That's the truth though, man. I think, do you feel like it's shown up in other parts of your life, like off the field, in business too, right? Like people respecting you or fearing you or getting to know you more and that helping progress the relationship?
I mean, I would say in business, the big thing is like, I think a lot of people equate it to transparency, but I also look at it as vulnerability, being able to not be afraid to say, I actually need some help. I am running a business. I'm running a company. And I was talking to a business partner the other day about this. Is like trying to help somebody build this company. And if you can't share everything that's going on and all the trials and tribulations of that you're going through, I can't help you. Like if I'm in the dark, like you keeping information from me, you may see it as, oh, well, he doesn't want to deal with this. He doesn't want to hear this. No, I want to hear everything, because if I can hear everything and understand the full picture, then we can all figure it out and make a decision. All right, are we throwing good money after bad money, or do we need to pivot and do something else, or do we need to bring in a different resource? But if I don't know, I can't help you. And vice versa. If I don't help, if I can't tell you what's on my mind and what I'm thinking about, how I'm viewing something, you can't help me. So it's a two-way street from that standpoint. And that's where I think if you earn the respect that also people they talk about an open door policy, you can't have an open door policy and berate people. You got to have an open door policy and be able to say, like, I hear you, I have empathy for you, but I'm also going to challenge you depending on what the situation is. Or I have empathy for you and let's go work on this together. Like you're not just dealing with this by yourself. So I think that's where fear is a very, very dangerous thing in business. But respect is something, if they can respect you, they can have open conversations with you, they have that open door policy, they have all these abilities to understand, like, we're in this together, even though you may not be on the same level, because there's always a totem pole and there's always a hierarchy at the end of the day.
I love that, because I think there's so many people that say, like, yeah, I'm an open door, I'm an open book, ask me anything. But in reality, you still have that fear to ask that because you're going to be berated or you're going to be, talked down upon, and you don't feel like you feel comfortable enough to speak freely to get that advice or that next piece of information. In closing, when you look back on your career, like, what does respect really mean to you?
Fear is an emotional state. And it's something that I think cognitively it puts somebody in a state that they feel like they have respect, versus respect is truthfully earned, as I mentioned with Jim Caldwell, all about consistency and streamlining across the board the way you treat people. And I think the best saying that I could give to somebody is, I will treat you fair, but I will not treat you equally. Because not everybody needs to be treated equally, but I shall treat you fair. The information provided on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified financial and or legal professionals before making any legal or financial decisions or investments. And that's our show, boss man. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to No Free Lunch on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.